Greetings once again, my friends and my fellow lovers of Titanic. What I want to show you guys today is pretty cool. This is, well, it's been out a few years. So since it's April, and I'm continuing my honoring of this great, magnificent ship, I hope you enjoy the video as I present to you Titanic. Okay, so this is one of my most prized possessions in regards to R.M.S. Titanic. You can see the sticker. So let's open it up. You can see White Star Memories, and we have the beautiful bow of Titanic from the Legacy collection. So let me go ahead and take this out of the box. So nice and gently, to show you guys the packaging. This is R.M.S. Titanic, the Legacy Collection, exclusive relics from the darkness of the deep. And this is White Star Memories. It's pretty basic. The box is relatively black. And you can see White Star Memories Limited, United Kingdom. And you can see the website right there. So in order to get it out, what you do is you slide out of the sleeve, and we'll put this to the side. So the box itself is sturdy cardboard. It's got the White Star Memories on it, and it's pretty basic. So we get the black box, and let me show you the treasure that's inside. So it has a magnetic connector, and when you open it up, again, you can see the Legacy Collection. And this was actually the slip that I had gotten. Let me show you guys this is number 154 out of 200. And I just want to kind of show you the 154 out of 200. Let's put that aside for a minute. Okay. So when we open up the box, these are the little feet that you can put it on. So we'll put that aside. And first thing we notice, actually, let me just take the stuff out to go over before we take the actual piece out. But there's the actual piece, and I'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing we have is the Certificate of Authenticity. And this is the White Star Memories. This is the R.M.S. Titanic Rusticle Fragment. And again, this is number, it actually has the date. This is from, let's see, I want to say December 18th of 2020. And you can see the website. Certificate of Authenticity certifies that this rusticle was recovered by the Research and Recovery Dive Team, R.M.S. Titanic Incorporated. Expedition from the wreck site of the R.M.S. Titanic. The rusticle is verified as unique and authentic. So this is the certificate, and we'll put this over here. Then we have a little book, and the Legacy Collection, and it gives a little bit of history, and it shows you the different things you can get. The Legacy Collection is a limited edition of uniquely, highly collectible relics recovered from the R.M.S. Titanic wreck site. 2 limited edition sets are currently being released. One featuring a piece of coal, and that's limited to 401 pieces. The other comprising of fragments from Titanic's hull. And this is taken actually from the big piece. And I've done a history on the big piece, and we're actually working on a model of the big piece. And from other of her bollards, 250 pieces. And it shows you the different things you can get. Now moving on to the actual expedition information. The legacy collection relics were recovered during R.M.S. Titanic Incorporated research and recovery expeditions led by former R.M.S. Vice President of Operations Dick Barton. Dick was the first ever Briton to visit the wreck site of Titanic and completed 22 dives. During his time with the R.M.S. Titanic Incorporated, he was responsible for managing Titanic's artifact collection, over 6,500 recovered artifacts. Dick Barton is a respected speaker and a subject of Titanic, principally on the complex salvage operations and the conservation and display of artifacts at exhibitions worldwide. Of course, now it's stationed in Vegas. In addition, Dick was a consultant on the making of the 1997 movie Titanic with James Cameron. Subsequent ongoing documentaries and operations, he has worked as an underwater cameraman, with his footage having been used in numerous television programs. What an amazing, amazing job that would be. White Star Memories is privileged to have worked with Dick Barton in producing Titanic, the Legacy Collection. And it goes into the pieces. Again, you can see the little feet that are going to hold it upright. Your Titanic relics were recovered from the wreck site, 4,000 meters below the sea surface, and has been conserved under controlled conditions in order to preserve them for future generations. In order to best maintain the conserved condition, we recommend taking the simple precautions. Do not remove the relics from the display frame. This has been sealed in order to protect from adverse environmental conditions. Handle the frame carefully when not in presentation boxes, and take the necessary care to prevent the protective membrane being punctured or damaged. Do not expose a display frame to strong sunlight, heat, or cold temperatures, and humidity or wet conditions. You can see a little warning on the bottom. Breaking the display frame seal, removing the frame contents, or not observing these precautions will invalidate any guarantee. So, of course, you wouldn't want to do that. As a matter of fact, I keep mine in all of the packaging, and I take it out on rare occasions. We recommend that the display frame is kept in the presentation box to best preserve your collection. However, should you wish to display the frame as part of a collection display, we recommend that you use a frame display feed. These are available for purchase, and it shows again the website, White Star Memories. Now, when it comes to the coal, I have shown you different pieces of coal in the past. The largest piece that I have was actually I had gotten this from Foxwoods Resorts and Casino, and it's in Connecticut. And this is the largest piece of coal that I have that was recovered from the wreck site. So this is one of my treasures from R.M.S. Titanic. So getting back to the book, you can see it's got a picture of Titanic's immense, massive boilers. And you can see the little description. Titanic's Scotch Marine fire tube boilers took almost 12 hours to heat up in order to produce steam that required working pressure. Titanic could hold over 7,500 tons of coal, and there are variable reports on how much coal was on board at sailing, but just under 6,000 tons is a generally accepted estimate. Steam for 2 reciprocating 4-cylinder triple expansion steam engines and 1 centrally paced low-pressure Parsons turbine was produced in 29 boilers that contained 159 furnaces. Approximately 600 tons of coal per day was shoveled into the furnaces around the clock by a total complement of 176 firemen. There were 73 coal trimmers who handled the coal from loading to maintenance in the bunkers and delivery to the firemen. As for the waste product, about 100 tons of coal ash were disposed of the sea each day. That's a lot of coal being consumed. It is estimated that Titanic sank with approximately 2,500 tons of coal. Out of the original load, the coal has been recovered from Titanic's ocean floor debris field since 1987. The full story of Titanic's coal, however, is far more comprehensive and well worth further study. And again, I showed you another piece of coal. I probably should have put it out, but let me see, let me get this for you. I've shown you the smaller ones in the frame. Actually, I'm just going to get that too. So when it comes to the coal of R.M.S. Titanic, the first piece that I ever got was the part that I just showed you right here, and this is by far the largest. What I did notice is subsequently, ever since this was released, the pieces of coal have gotten smaller. So I did a video on this to show you guys. Also, I have another smaller piece. Let me get it out of the bag for you guys. I've shown you this piece as well. And this is a small piece of coal from R.M.S. Titanic. And on the back you can see the New York Times reproduction of the sinking of Titanic. You can see a picture of the ship and Captain Smith. I've shown you these. I've also shown you much, much smaller pieces. I've shown you this that actually has a piece of the coal, a piece of the wood, and a small rusticle piece recovered from Titanic. And this is really, really tiny. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys before moving on. I'm going to put this aside for a moment. Okay, getting back to the book, we have different photographs, and this is let's see, this is in South Wales, and it was similar to the region producing the sought-after steam coal. The debris field sold previously was incorrectly labeled as anthracite, which has the fewest impurities and the highest energy density of all types of coal. Therefore, it burns far too hot and would have caused severe damage to the boilers. Although not exclusively used in the production of steam for ships and railways, the steam coal was the most suitable and mined in specific areas of the United Kingdom, in particular South Wales. It is impossible to state exactly which mines produced the coal used by Titanic, while the majority of the fleets of ships owned by Cunard, White Star, and other shipping lines that operated out of Southampton. But the most productive and suitable were those in the Rhondda Valley, one of the world's most important coal mining regions between 1860 and 1939. Some of the most notable were Six Bells Colliery, and let's see, the Big Pit, in, I hope I pronounced this right, Blanchwam, and it is now a National Coal Museum. And then it goes into the process, and you can see a photograph. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up, but I'll put up photos. Miners working an underground seam by hand, the roof above them supported by wooden pit props. Now, can you imagine being down in a tunnel like that, with the only thing supporting the roof would be the pit props? The process of mining coal at the time was labor-intensive and extremely dangerous. This was a harsh, tough environment, and coal miners' lives were notoriously short, either through injury or most likely lung disease. Of course, they didn't have OSHA standards back then. Many of them had worked underground since the age of 13 and had little to no prospect of any other employment. Death below ground was commonplace, one horrific example being the loss of 439 miners. This followed an explosion at the Universal Colliery in Segenide, again I want to pronounce that correctly, near Caerphilly in October of 1913 in Wales. No less than 57 million tons of coal was produced in 1913 by 232,000 men working in 620 mines. That is a lot of coal. That equates to almost 250 tons a man per year, an incredible feat. Yet Titanic would consume one miner's annual yield in just 10 hours. That's just amazing. Think about propelling 46,000 tons, 21 knots. That requires a lot of energy. The coal seams were up to half a mile deep and could extend for miles around. The coal dug out by hand would be loaded into small wagons and then drawn by ponies or horses to the base of the shaft, then brought to the surface. These animals lived underground and would only be brought back to the surface after their working lives were over, if they survived that long. So the coal miners, they chose to do that for a living, but you got to feel for the animals that really had no choice. Matter of fact, you can see one of the horses right there. This photograph, although often referred to as pit ponies, most of the animals we used in Welsh collieries were actually horses. They were used to transplant coal from the collieries to the customer, to produce winding and pumping engines, and most importantly, to move coal from the coal face to the shaft. They were usually around 15 hands high, a hand being 10 centimeters, with horses being measured to the shoulder. However, some ponies of about 13 hands were used for light hauling duties. There was an extensive network of railway lines in South Wales valleys devoted to bringing coal to the steelworks and distribution for domestic locomotive use throughout southern England, and of course to fuel the ships. Linking the South Wales collieries to the ports were probably financed largely by coal owners in the South Wales valleys. Also the dock owners and marine interests. These quickly, amalgamated into three main companies: the Taff Vale Railway, the Rhymney Railway, and the Barry Railway. Over here you can see a beautiful photograph. Let's see, which ship is this? This is actually cargo barges lining up to load coal to Titanic's sister ship, the R.M.S. Olympic. The outriggers can be seen on the outside of the promenade deck bulwark. And this is tiny, but I want to put this up in 4K so you guys can really appreciate that photo. Loading the coals into the ship's bunkers was another laborious and filthy job. Coal dust would have invaded many areas of the vessel. It would also require extensive cleaning afterwards. As you can see in the image of the Olympic, the side of the ship would require washing down, another task to be completed by hand. The coal sacks would be hoisted from the barges and pontoons by a rope and gin block pulley system, operated using outriggers attached to the outboard bulwarks of the A deck up to the coal doors and then into the chutes to fill the bunkers. However, not all of Titanic's coal came from the collieries in South Wales, because you remember there was a strike, a coal strike at the time, where they actually took coal from other ships. And it speaks into that. 1912 saw the first national coal strike by miners in Britain. Its main goal was to secure a decent living wage. Nearly 1 million miners took part in the industrial action, and on the 6th of April, after 37 days, the government intervened and ended the strike by passing the Coal Miners Act, establishing a minimum wage for the first time. The strike caused considerable disruption to train and shipping schedules, and the White Star Line was no exception. Prospective passengers canceled their travel plans because of the strike, and this is probably the reason for Titanic's maiden voyage being poorly supported, but many of those who did travel were lucky enough to be transferred from the other laid-up vessels in the fleet, such as the SS Oceanic. Extra coal was brought back to England from non-British ports, and it is also believed that the extra coal sacks were even stockpiled in some of the second-class public rooms on board Olympic and brought back from the USA. Of course, Titanic was coaled in Belfast before her departure on April 2nd. Samples found in Titanic's debris have been undergone various scientific studies, and in 2003, of the 20 samples tested, over 60% were from British origin, 20% were from the US, and province of the other 4 could not be clearly designated. After 300 million years in the making, the full story of Titanic's coal is mostly forgotten. Substantial pieces of coal in the legacy collection were recovered during a 1994 expeditions and offered for sale, courtesy of Dick Barton, who was president of Titanic Incorporated during his time and has legal title to the precious items. It is very doubtful there will ever be more recovered, so this is a unique opportunity to own incredibly rare Titanic relics. And that's another reason why I absolutely cherish these. These are actually pieces of coal that at one time were loaded onto Titanic. It was actually in her storage areas. And this is the largest piece I have, and then I have the smaller one, and then again, like I showed you, it gets really, really tiny in that one. So looking at the next page, you can see we actually have the big piece. It shows you where it was taken from. And this is actually a project we're working on now. I'm actually doing a photo etch model of this piece from Maritime Models. It was 1996 when the first attempt was made to raise the 26.5 foot by 12.5 foot section of the starboard sea deck hull, behind which were luxurious suite C79, decorated in the Louis, let's see, it looks like the 15th style, and the C81 was white paneled Georgian style stateroom. Both were believed to be occupied by both were believed to be unoccupied during Titanic's ill-fated maiden voyage. Following the ascent of the seabed, just 200 feet from the surface, the cables from the 6 diesel-filled flotation bags snapped. A 17-ton steel section tumbled all the way back down to the ocean floor of a depth of 12,415 feet. 2 years later, on August 10th of 1998, a second attempt using 5-inch nylon ropes was more successful. And I've shown you guys this picture. This is actually being raised up, and then you can see the photo depicting the section of the ship. Render of Titanic's starboard hull showing the location of the big piece outlined in green. And on the bottom, the big piece breaking a surface, coming to see the sunlight for the first time since 1912. You can see the beautiful photograph, and this is the luxurious suite C79 that was immediately behind the 25-foot section of the hull, known as the big piece. It's absolutely beautiful. Speaking of the big piece, the way it looks today, the big piece on permanent display at the Luxor Hotel exhibition in Las Vegas. Now, when I had seen this in Connecticut, when I had gotten the piece of coal, it was kind of like traveling around, and now the whole the exhibition is permanently stationed in Vegas. To stop further deterioration of the steel, the big piece, as it became known, was transferred to a conservation facility in St. Paul, Minneapolis, where the hull section spent 18 months in a desalination sodium chloride removal tank, with sacrificial anode blocks made usually of zinc attached in the September of 1999. It was transported to Santa Fe, Mexico for further 3 months of desalination, and then water jet cleaned at a pressure of 3,000 psi in order to remove any loose or rusty fragments. The big piece was then coated with tannic acid to stabilize any remaining corrosion and treated with micro crystalline wax to prevent further deterioration. The largest section of Titanic to be raised from the depths was now ready for display. Again, I've done a history on the big piece, as well as working on the model right now. And now we go to the bollards of Titanic and look at the diagram, the ventilation. So this is deck mounting details of Titanic's ventilation bollard. And below, you can see the deep seabed image. And this is in 2014. Titanic was secured to the dockside using 4-inch thick manila ropes tied to the ship's bollards. Some of the bollards were the ventilation type. Holes in the top of each post assisted in ventilation workspaces in the third-class public rooms on the decks below. One of these 2.35-ton steel ventilating bollards was located at the stern on the third-class poop deck. As the ship sank, it broke off and fell almost 2.5 miles to the seabed. It was recovered from the debris fields surrounding the wreck on the 23rd of July of 1994. Like the big piece, the bollard had to undergo an extensive desalinization process to preserve it. The fragments included in the legacy collection were recovered from the desalinization tanks after the stabilizing process had been completed. And we get to see the bollards. This is the bollard on display at the Science Museum in 2003. And over here you can see restoring during the desalinization process and restoration of the piece. And you can see the bottom, R.M.S. Titanic Incorporated. We are honored to be able to include these fragments from the big piece and the bollard as part of the legacy collection. They are offered for sale courtesy of Dick Barton, who was Vice President of R.M.S. Titanic Incorporated during this time, and is legal title to these precious items, making this a unique opportunity to own a treasured collector piece. Now remember that there's no more. They can't produce more of this stuff. It's only the things that were recovered. And you can see this is recovering the Titanic coal from the seabed. I love that picture. And White Star Memories. So that's the little booklet that comes with the actual piece. So going back now, again, when we open up the box, I'm going to carefully take this out to show you guys. And they really, really have it in there, so trying to do it without disturbing it. Ever so gently. It's really, really tough to get this out. That's why I don't take it out very often. It's like a rubber that it's cradled in, and that's everything in the box itself. So without further ado, let me show you guys the amazing piece and the whole reason why I treasure this so much. Rusticle Fragment number 154 of 200. R.M.S. Titanic, the Legacy Collection. You can see the rust in the front, and on the back you can actually see some of the paint. And what this is this frame is vacuum sealed, and when they close the frame, you can see they put like a seal on it. So let me show you how we would put the feet on for display. And again, I don't keep mine out. I keep it in all the packaging just to preserve it as long as possible, because someday I'll be giving this to my children, and hopefully they give it to their children. So we would take a piece, and it would just rest right in. It doesn't click in or anything. Just like that. What it does is it actually keeps it from flipping over. And I'll take you off the tripod in a moment. But again, I just want to emphasize some of the stuff that I have historically from this beautiful vessel. We've got the sinking of Titanic and great sea disasters, thrilling stories of survivors with photographs and sketches, and I've done a video on this book for you guys. I'm not too crazy about the wording. Thrilling stories. It wouldn't have been thrilling for the people that were actually in the ice water. You can see the book itself has like a photograph that's pasted to the cover of that beautiful, beautiful Titanic. I've shown you guys this one as well, and I've read from this book for you guys. the Memorial Edition Sinking of Titanic. And again, thrilling stories told by survivors. And again, it has like a pasted on photo. It's not embossed, although it looks like it could be. And I've done some readings from this book this year as well as last year, and I've done a video on this fantastic book. Let's see, this is when I actually went to the casino to see the exhibit. I had gotten my picture taken, and again, I would have dressed more appropriately had I known I was going to be able to have a picture in the grand staircase. But again, this is a picture of myself, and I had gotten the frame, and you can see the Titanic. We got a 3D ceramic depiction of her. We can see the grand staircase. Beautiful, look at the detail with the clock. This would have been on A deck, the landing up on top, and above would have been the dome. Going over, you can see another depiction of Titanic with the white star flag flying. And lastly, we have the globe where it has the White Star logo. Let me see if I can still get everything to kind of... What it does is it has little golden flakes that kind of float around. Let's see, this was 2007. So that was pretty fun. That's when I got to see the big piece, and it just gave me chills. So we have different videos that I've shown you guys, like I've shown you the coins that I have from Titanic. This is from my dear brother Joe. You can see it's got the voyage on the back. He also had given me a coin from Liberia. And I've done videos on all this stuff. And it's just one of those things where I just feel like a connection to Titanic that I'm not sure why. She was launched in 1912. I've had no relatives on Titanic, not that I know of. New York, where she was supposed to dock, is probably about a 7-hour drive from where I am here in New England to New York Harbor. So I don't know what it is about this ship. Ever since I saw Jacques Cousteau, who's one of my childhood heroes, he had found Britannic. And I was actually introduced to Britannic before Titanic. And then I started to really want to get into it and understand more of the ship and do more research. And throughout the years, I've just become head over heels under her spell. But this was the Rusticle piece from the Legacy collection. And I'm going to take you off the tripod and show you up close. Alright, so you can see R.M.S. Titanic, Rusticle Fragment number 154 of 200, and this is the Legacy collection. And let me try to zoom in on the piece for you guys. And it just gives me the chills that I'm actually holding a piece that came off of Titanic. So let me turn it around. Show you the back. And again, you can see where the plastic, the vacuum seal plastic, kind of formed to it. And you can actually see the paint as well as the rust. Let me see if I can get a shot of the ship in the background. Now, please forgive my shaky hand. So, like I had said in the beginning of this video, I had done this a while ago. I made a video, but I think this was special enough to warrant another video. And this time it's in 4K. I had wanted to do it in high definition, just to show you guys, because this just, I'm so happy I got this. And this is my prized possession from R.M.S. Titanic. So my friends, I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the kind words, And until my next video, I'll talk to you guys really soon.